Hello, good morning. Today our guest is Dr. Andrea Fazio. Hello, Andrea. How are you doing today?
Hi, hello. I'm good, thank you.
I'm great. So,
Uh,
Andrea, today we're going to be talking about beauty. Recently, you published a paper. It's quite interesting and it's titled Attractiveness and Preferences for Redistribution. Andrea, do beautiful people have advantages?
yeah, so actually, this is in the uh, motivation of the paper. There is a lot of scientific literature that is showing that beauty pays. Okay, in uh, several aspects of daily life, especially in labor market. Okay, so for example, there is a literature in labor economics that is showing that beautiful people earn more. They got some jobs earlier than others, and actually, people who are more beautiful than others actually have some advantages. Then, besides this literature in labor economics, there is also other scientific literature that is showing that actually is not only in the labor market that beautiful people have advantages, but also on other aspects of their lives. So, for example, on relationships or also on education, because, for example, when children are more good looking, then sometimes teachers are more care more about this child. So beauty has a big impact on daily lives. But I think that this is something that in some sense we can also experience sometimes. Yeah. So
I'm
in
going to
addition to
share
what scientific literature says.
I'm going to
Yeah. Sorry.
share the findings of your introduction with the audience. Good looking individuals tend to be happier. This is from Amarmesh and Abrivaya 2013. They also earn higher wages, find better jobs, carry out better tasks on the workplace, and achieve higher outcomes. They are
Excellent.
able to build better social networks. So, beautiful people are the beneficiaries of a list of advantages over beauty is associated with some disadvantages. So, for instance, if you're beautiful, you may be considered too competent for a low wage job. That's one disadvantage of being beautiful.
It may be. It may be. Actually, there are only few studies that find that beauty is not an advantage, but sometimes there could be also some disadvantages of beauty, especially for women, at least for what uh, uh, scientific literature says. Okay, so there are sometimes there are some disadvantages, but usually uh, beautiful people have more advantages than disadvantages, especially in the labor market. Yeah. Then it also depends on the task they have to perform. Okay, so for example, if you really need, I mean, if people really apply for a job where they need some uh, I mean, where appearance is valuable. Okay, so for example, when they have to interact with an audience, then beauty matters a lot. Than in other tasks where, for example, appearance is not requested.
Beauty can cause women to encounter some disadvantages. So, beautiful women may be taken less seriously. This is one disadvantage identified by the literature.
Yeah, exactly. It it there are some. Indeed, this is one, but yeah, usually what we find is that there are more advantages than disadvantages. Yeah. So on average, we could say that uh, beautiful people are, let's say, luckier than others.
Why do beautiful people experience these advantages? Do we know why?
Well, usually there are two different theories. Okay, so one is more related to the productivity of beauty, let's say. Okay, so for example, as I was saying before, for example, beauty is requested in some jobs. Okay, so that's why employers prefer beautiful people. Okay, so for example, if some employers are looking for jobs where people have to interact with the public, then they are looking for beautiful people. Okay, so this is just a matter of productivity. Let's say that beautiful people are more productive than less beautiful people. Then there is another idea that is more related to discrimination. Okay, so actually, what could be is also that employer prefer to have in their job place good-looking people. Okay, so even if two people have the same capabilities, the same curricula, then employers might prefer good-looking people just because they have a preference for this.
And beauty confer evolutionary advantages. It can be seen as a sign of good health, reproductive advantages, etc. So this could be one reason why we like beautiful people. And Andrea, I'm going to be realistic. It's easier to look at attractive people.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually it's easier. I think also this is what to be realistic, is also what we see in our societies. I mean, if we look at how much people spend on beauty, then it is quite common knowledge, I would say, that beauty is an important thing for everyone, and beauty is also something that everyone try to achieve.
That's why they say dress for success. Your looks can determine your ability to get a job. I was speaking to a young man once and he said, I got a client because she liked my attire. This young man is an attorney. So you're never told be sloppy. You're told to dress for success because physical appeal matters. One researcher said that only shallow people don't judge people based on how they look. Sometimes it's reasonable to judge people based on how they look. If you're going to be interviewed, dress like a professional. If the interview is casual or comedic, you don't need a suit and tie. So this is not related to our conversation, but are you a musician?
I play music, but
Oh,
yeah, no, I'm not a musician. Yeah, but I play sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking
But,
looking at your guitar. Well, your host just looks really artistic.
oh, yeah, thank you. No, it's just, yeah. Sorry, I don't have another space for the guitar, so yeah, that's
Okay,
why
all
they
right.
are behind me. Yeah.
So,
Um,
Andrea, beautiful people, are they aware of these advantages?
So this is a very interesting question that I try to tackle in my article. What it seems, and perhaps is also a bit uh, might seem obvious. What it seems is that beautiful people are not aware of their advantages. Okay, and this is of interest because. Given that beauty has a big impact on people's life, then it is important to understand whether beautiful people are aware of these impacts or not. Okay, so for example, what I find is that beauty also affects preferences of people. Okay, and one thing that I find is that uh, attractiveness is related with beliefs in meritocracy. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that people who are beautiful are more likely to believe in meritocracy. Okay, so actually what we would expect is that if they are aware of their advantages, they should be less likely, I mean, beautiful people should be less likely to believe in meritocracy, okay? To the extent that beauty is just a given of the nature, okay? Instead, what I find is that beauty is associated with a higher belief in meritocracy. Okay, so what it seems is that beautiful people are not aware of the advantages that beauty gives to them.
Andreas, maybe some beautiful people think that beauty is a result of their own effort. So some people are born appealing, but others during their teenage years might not have been as attractive, and over time they invested in themselves and today they're beautiful. So maybe for some beautiful people, beauty is a function of effort.
Exactly, exactly. So to try to control for this, I include in my analysis a lot of individual controls, like for example, uh, income, household income, personal income, and parental background. Okay, so all a lot of aspects that might be correlated with how people um, are inclined to effort in life, to income, to a lot of things, okay? But when I include all these controls, still there is this association, okay? So this is something that perhaps is trying to control for this fact that beauty can also be a function of effort, okay? So what I try to do is to look at the association between beauty and preferences, okay, netting out the effect of effort, okay. And when I try to do this, still I found this association, okay. So for sure there is some effort in this. When I try to control for this, the association between beauty and preferences for meritocracy and for redistribution still holds.
Interestingly, over beautiful women usually know their power. And I'm speaking both from research and personal examples. Because men take their eyes seriously. They say women listen to what they hear, whereas men tend to be more visual people. So quite often it's evident that beautiful women know the power that they have over men. And this is why they're often employed in advertisements.
Yeah, well, actually, I have to say, um, for what I know about literature in the labor market, at least, there are few gender differences, and this is something that I also find in my study. Okay, so what does it mean is that in my study, what I find is that the association between attractiveness and preferences is stands both for male and female. Okay, and usually this is also what other people found, for example, in studying the beauty premium in the labor market. Okay, so actually, we could expect some marked gender differences. Instead, what we find is that usually, for example, the beauty premium is valid both for males and females. And this is something that I find very interesting because, I mean, we might expect different results, but on average, it seems that these effects are valid both for men and women. Only some papers in evolutionary psychology found that, for example, the effect of appearance and physical appearances matters more for male than female.
I
Yeah,
was just about to ask that question. Is the beauty
yeah.
premium higher for men? I was just about to ask you that question, but you already answered it.
Yeah.
Over movies, I'm talking about movies because people frequently compare salaries of men to women in Hollywood, and male films tend to have a higher cumulative value, and this could be for several reasons. Maybe people like more action movies, or maybe especially women want to see attractive men on TV and they're willing to pay a price, or they're willing to pay to watch the film. This is what I've been thinking about for some time. Maybe in Hollywood there's a higher beauty premium for men.
Um, it can be so. It can be so because in sometimes the beauty premium is even higher for men than for female. But I mean, in the specific case of Hollywood, but also of like in this specific case, let's say of the movie market of other markets, I think that in addition to physical appearance, attractiveness, and all these things, um, possibly there are some salaries that are different from males and females for other reasons. Okay, so usually that there is sometimes a gender gap and usually females unfortunately get lower wages. But and this is not related to the beauty premium. This is related to other reasons. So we should try to control, let's say, for this gender gap effect, and then try to understand how the beauty premium interact in this market.
Andrea, do women face higher costs for being less attractive? Because men place a high premium on beauty in women.
Um, yeah, I mean, as I said before, it depends. Okay, so I would say that we didn't reach a unique answer to this question, because sometimes it depends on the studies. Okay, because it is true that on average beautiful people earn more, and it is true that usually that sometimes this beauty premium is even higher for men. So I would say that plain males are more penalized uh, by the beauty premium, but it really depends on many aspects. Okay, so I would say there is no a general rule. Okay, the only general rule we found is that beauty matters in the labor market and beautiful people earn more. Okay, and then I think that other more specific things really depend on the context, on the culture, on the specific uh, job or market that we are talking about. Okay, so there are many peculiarities that might be context dependent, for example. So this can really differ from a context to another.
Yes, context is important. Some years ago, there was a study saying that in some countries, people who are not really attractive are more likable. So they were experiencing a beauty premium.
Mhm.
Yes, I don't, I read it in the economics, but that was several years ago. Now,
Yeah.
Andrea, we're going to get to politics. Are beautiful people likely to support right-wing parties?
So this is actually this is what I found. Okay, but this is also what better scholars before uh, than me found. Okay, so actually what the literature suggests is that first, beautiful politicians get uh, vote get voted easier than plain politicians. Okay, and then it is also interesting that there is a very, I would say, beautiful paper that is the right look from Begran and co-authors, and they found that not only beautiful politicians get more votes, but beautiful politicians are usually right wings. Okay, so then what I try to understand is whether also voters who are more beautiful are more likely to vote for right-wing parties, and this is the case. Okay, so there is an association between attractiveness and voting for right-wing parties. What is interesting is why we find such an association. I don't know whether I can speak or you have other questions
You
related to
speak,
this.
tell us why.
Yeah, so actually the common the common explanation to this association was that since beautiful people earn more, then they are more likely to be against redistributions and redistributive policies in general. Okay, so that's why they lean towards right-wing parties. Actually, I try to what I try to do is to dig deeper in this mechanism, and I try to understand if also when we control for how much people have, how much people earn, okay, we find this association between attractiveness and preferences for right-wing parties and preferences for redistribution. Okay, so what I try to do is to net out the effect of money in this mechanism to understand whether the relationship between attractiveness and political preferences is due to beautiful people earning more or not. And what I found is that when I control for money, for household income, for personal income, and parental background and other things, still there is this association between attractiveness and political beliefs. Okay, and this is interesting because it means that this association is not driven by beautiful people earning more. So there is something more behind this association. Okay, and what I try to suggest in my article is that possibly this is due to the way in which beautiful people rationalize their advantages, the advantages they get thanks to beauty. Okay, so as we said before, beautiful people might not be aware of the advantages that beauty gives to them, and they might be more likely to, for example, to believe that all the advantages they have are a result of their own effort. Okay, so possibly this might driven this relationship between attractiveness and political preferences. Okay, and this is also something that, for example, in the literature on preferences for redistribution, that is a literature that tries to understand why people would prefer higher taxes versus lower taxes. This is just to say it very easily. And in this literature, it has been found that there is a strong self-serving bias. Okay, so for example, when people think that what they earn is a result of their own effort, then they are much less likely to support redistribution. Okay, so they want lower taxes because they think that what they earn is the fruit of their work. Okay, so similarly, this mechanism could be also in place when we look at the association between attractiveness and political preferences. Okay, so if people do not think that the advantages they get thanks to the beauty they have is not given by the narrator, but is the result of their own effort, then they might be inclined to support less redistribution. Okay, so this is a possible explanation of all these complex mechanisms.
Did you find gender differences in the support for redistribution?
No, again, as I said before, I tried to look for gender differences, and again, I found that the relationship between attractiveness and preferences for redistribution is basically the same, both for males and females, meaning that more beautiful men or women are less likely to support redistribution.
Andrea, in your paper, you also explored the different types of political parties. Are beautiful people more likely to support parties with an environmental stance, like the Green
So
Party? So you were talking about different parties in Germany.
yeah. Okay, so at first, what I found is that, so yeah, first of all, my study is on the German population. Okay, so what I try to understand is the relationship between attractiveness and political parties. Okay, at first I found that there was an association between attractiveness and the Green Party, attractiveness and the CDU, and attractiveness and the Free Democratic Party. Okay. Then, however, when I controlled for income, okay, the only association that remained is the one between attractiveness and the Free Democratic Party. And the Free Democratic Party is a liberal party that again support a lower taxation and is against and it is against redistribution. So what I would say is that the association between attractiveness and the Green Party was a spurious association, possibly mediated by income. Okay, while the association between attractiveness and the Free Democratic Party seems much more robust and can confirm what I find also between attractiveness and preferences for distribution.
Is there a link between body mass index and the perception of attractiveness?
Yeah, sure. I mean, usually body mass index is also used as a proxy for attractiveness. So this is something that I also try to understand in my research paper. Okay, so I use body mass index as additional proxy for attractiveness, but because usually attractiveness is composed of physical appearance. Okay, so the shape of the body, the height, the weight, and also facial attractiveness. Okay, and I used both body mass index as measure and also another measure of attractiveness that was a rate of beauty that the interviewers made of the interviewee at the beginning of the interview. Okay, so for sure there is this relationship between body mass index and attractiveness, and is a strong relationship. Still, however, when I use my measure of attractiveness and I try to control for body mass index, so what I try to do is to isolate the facial attractiveness. Okay, this is what I try to do, although still this is This is not a perfect measure because it can also, I mean, the rate of attractiveness can also depend on how people, for example, on the clothes or on the makeup and all these things. But what I try to do is also to understand whether my measure of attractiveness it strongly depends on the shape of the body of the people in my sample, and this is not the case. Okay, so for example, when I try to look at my result, controlling also for body mass index, I still find the results.
Okay, then. And or wrapping up question.
Yeah.
Do beautiful people feel better about themselves? Their self-esteem, is it higher?
Yeah. So usually what scientific literature says is that one of the mechanisms through which beautiful people are able to, for example, to get job easier, to be paid more, and to basically get the beauty premium is through their self-confidence. Okay, so beauty has an impact on self-confidence, and beautiful people are more confident. However, this higher confidence still doesn't explain all the beauty premium, and also this higher self-confidence doesn't explain the relationship fully, doesn't explain fully the relationship between attractiveness and political preferences as well, because this is something that also I try to control. Okay, so I try to understand whether this relationship between attractiveness and political preferences is given by self-confidence, and this is not the case, even if self-confidence is strongly affected by attractiveness.
Okay, then. So, Andrea, this is a fascinating topic. I'm really enjoying it, but we have to wrap up. And thanks again for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right. Bye, Andrea.
Bye. Thank you.